In this lesson, we're going to talk about overcoming what I call are the three strikes that reduce production, the three strikes to poor lay. So what are the three things that affect laying? The first one is day length. We've talked about that already a little bit, which is why we want to start our new pullets so they begin laying about 3 months before the winter solstice, which is December 21. So day length is the big one. The second one is maturity. How old is the bird? Remember, at about 12 months, the bird is going to molt. And so if we can hit that molt during the spring flush, then they don't lay very well when they're molting, and we don't force molt here. We let the birds, go through. It'll take 6 weeks for that flock to go through its full molt. We like to go 2 cycles with our birds, sometimes even 3 cycles. We are hatching a lot of our own birds now. We're trying to go to a full hatching program. So they'll lay 1 whole year, and then they'll go through a molt, and they'll lay another whole almost a year, not necessarily a full year, because you're going to start culling those old birds as day length begins to decline. So come June 21, we begin gradually chipping into those old birds to start culling them. And of course, we take them off as stewing hens. The point is to start culling once that longest day happens, because the maturity and the day length are now going to give you 2 strikes. The third strike, so you got day length, you got maturity of the bird, how old's the bird, and number 3, the third strike, is comfort of the bird. So remember, these birds have high metabolism, and so they have to take in a lot of calories in order to maintain body temperature. Now, a chicken can take almost any cold as long as they're not wet or drafty. Can you keep them where they're not burning off all their calories trying to maintain body temperature, so there's some left over to lay an egg? Number 2 is wet. Matter in a wet hen, chickens do not like water, all right? They do not like wet. And especially if they're cold wet, then they just hypothermia. And if you get a chicken wet, she can actually freeze to death at 50 degrees, okay? Because she just can't get warm. So comfort is cold, wet, and then finally draft. That's a breeze. So they need a lot of ventilation. Chickens like ventilation, that's good, but not drafty ventilation where you've got a breeze blowing on them. You can have a fairly, not necessarily a tight, you can even have a run-in kind of shed for them, as long as you have that total back end from the windward side. Now, if the wind suddenly shifts, you get an east wind coming in there, now you're going to have really uncomfortable chickens. And that's why we like an enclosure where you can open, create ventilation different ways. The way we overcome these 3 strikes to poor lay is to start the pullets so they begin laying on declining day length, and so that they go through two laying cycles, with the molt being counter to their age. And finally, to keep them comfortable enough, cold, wet, draft, comfortable enough in the winter that they're not uncomfortable and have enough reserve calories left over from their feed every day, from what they're eating, to be able to lay an egg. Those are the 3 strikes. You overcome those, and they will continue to lay without lights on through the winter. Not blockbuster lay, but they'll lay enough to break even and make a business.